Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse for another in our April wine series. Tonight we are looking at 1975 Stand Back. Our panel tonight, Ryan Gavalier from Ryan's Vinyl Destination, Tim Derling from Tim's Vinyl Confessions, John Clauser from My Music Corner, Nick Esquire, and Dave Lubin. So stay tuned. Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight is yet another episode in our April Wine series. I want to welcome Tim Derling, Nick Esquire, John Clauser, Ryan Gavalier, and Dave Lubin. Let's go now to Stand Back from 1975. Like we've talked about before, this is where the Jim Clinch, Miles Goodwin songwriting team falls apart. And I think we only have maybe like 2 vocal tracks from Jim on here. And it's pretty much dominated by Miles Goodwin. But this is another record where everybody says this is probably the best of the early albums. I don't know. Let's go around with our panel. Let's pop it over to Tim Derling and see what Tim has to say about it.
Yeah, Stand Back. I think this is probably their biggest album before First Glance. Now I've got the crappiest issue in the world. Yeah, we got the same one. Ooh, look at that!
Look at that artwork.
Yeah, Aquarius really outdid themselves. And look, not even a booklet, just a single lonely.
Mine's got graphics on my CD.
Mine, look at that. I've got nothing.
This is the last one before they got reissued, I think.
Okay. So the thing about this album is that it was the second album to get issued in the States, because you had the second one, which was on record in Canada and self-titled in the US on Big Tree Records. They did one more that Big Tree put out, and that was Stand Back, which because it was such a big album in Canada, I think, if I'm reading my April Wine history correct, I mean, I was born in 74, so I certainly wasn't around for it, but I think that Stand Back was their first, it might have been their first platinum album in Canada. And I think it was the first one where they really established themselves as a headlining act in the country, which is why after, they signed with Capitol, they had First Glance, did all right, Harder, Faster did better still, Nature of the Beast went platinum. In the early 80s, I think it was in the early 80s, because Big Tree was owned by Atlantic, you get this, which is a US cassette of Stand Back on Atlantic, which honestly, this looks so weird to me because it's like they weren't on Atlantic. But I think that it makes me wonder what would have happened with them if they'd assigned to a bigger label right away. But
I was going to say, is that an Atlantic or is that Big Tree? Oh, yours is Big Tree.
Yeah, he's okay. And it's got a cool back cover too. It's got, which is and if you have the CD version of this to seek out, if you can find it, is the Wounded Bird version. Yeah.
Hey, Tim, it
Mr.
does say
Clauser.
it's distributed by Atlantic. So Atlantic's all over this album cover.
Yeah.
My copy is on the Atlantic, just the regular, like the green and the red.
The green and red.
And it says Atlantic at the bottom. Yeah, it doesn't even say anything about
this doesn't say
Big
Tree on it anywhere. It just says Atlantic, which is, and judging from the look, I'm guessing this is an early 80s reissue of it. But enough about that. Let's talk about the album itself. The album was self-produced with the exception of, I think, a couple of songs that were produced by Gene Cornish and Dino Danelli. And if I'm getting this right, they were members of the Young Rascals.
That is true.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. So, What a Night. Classic. Like this is a showstopper in Canada. They ended up doing it in the States, but I don't think it ever had quite the same impact. It starts off the fire engine, ding, 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 ding. And pretty heavy song, again, for 1975. It's a Jim Clinch song. It's an April Wine standard, so much so that I think it's the only song of the Jim Clinch era that they would do when he wasn't in the band. Because on Live at the El Macombo, the replacement bass player, Steve Lang, sings it. And then again, we've talked about that excellent King Biscuit Flower Hour CD from the Power Play tour in Wichita. It's one of the encores, I think, and Miles sings it. And I like hearing it with Miles singing it. Obviously, Miles is the better singer, but I do like Jim's vocals. You know, it might be a little bit, and I'm not comparing sound wise, but it might be a little bit like Ace Frehley, less is more, song or two an album, but I don't want to hear a bunch of songs in a row with that voice. And the only other song on this album he's got a credit on and sings is my least favorite song on the album, Baby Done Got Some Soul, which is every bit as clunky as it sounds. I don't think it sings well. I don't know if they're attempting to do a disco song. It is extremely 70s sounding in its chord changes. I can see where there was an attempt made to do something, but I've never really cared for that one. Other than that, you know, they're fairly short songs. Most of them are really, really short, like 2.5, 3 minutes long. And there's just one good song after another. I mean, you know, the song Slowpoke is kind of you could almost kind of call it a novelty because turned his vocals down a lot. And he, you know, he's trying to sound like Barry White or something like that. You know, I can get a kick out of it. Don't Push Me Around as a concert staple. It wasn't a single, but they did it a lot in concert. It's kind of a cool, somebody mentioned Foghat. It's a total blues rock, you know, like it could almost be a Southern rock song, and it's fun. The heaviest song on here, I think, other than Ooh What a Night, is Victim of Your Love, last song on side one. Really heavy, moody song, a Miles Goodwin song, and it's the longest song on the album. It's the only one that tops 4 minutes. Now in Canada, the songs that you would hear are definitely Ooh What a Night, Tonight Is a Wonderful Time to Fall in Love, which is just ear candy, like it's just as pop can be. You Want More Cowbell? You got cowbell in this song. And one of my favorite April Wine ballads, I Wouldn't Want to Lose Your Love, which I've always thought, I don't know if they were in a hurry when they were putting this together, but it's always sounded to me like when it first comes on, how it kind of goes, bum, dun, dun. It almost sounds like they didn't have the volume turned up all the way. So it was like, oh, he's starting. I don't know if that makes any sense to anyone, but if you hear it come on, it's almost like, whoop, like it takes a second to get up to its full volume. But I think it's a beautiful song. Come Hear the Band has an interesting spelling, but it's kind of a fun it's a ballad. You know, Miles wrote excellent ballads. As a matter of fact, Aquarius put out an album called Best of April Wine Rock Ballads. And this one is more, it's a very realistic one about starting a band and basically wanting a girl to come see them play. Highway Hard Run is kind of an interesting one too. It has some different changes in it. Another thing about this album is that a lot of long song titles on here, not a lot of two, 3 word song titles on here. Not that matters, but oddly enough, the last time I saw them in concert was way back in 2008. So at this point, they still had Jerry Mercer on drums, and they had his name went right out of my head. The guy that was an Offenbach bass player. Oh, he sang some too. Not Richard Lafayette, who they have now. Bree? No. What was it? Oh, I hate that when I draw a blank like that. Brent LeBoeuf, something like that. Breen LeBoeuf, that was it. Anyway, that was the lineup, and they actually did Wouldn't Want Your Love Any Other Way, and it was one of those songs that it took a long time. It took to get to the chorus. I'm like, I know this. What is it? I wasn't expecting it. Total deep cut. But they've always done that in their concerts. They'll always do, there's, you know, the staples like any band has, but they throw in deeper cuts a lot. I think it's a really strong album. I think it's deserving of its status as, you know, generally looked at as one of the best, definitely one of the best of the 70s. It's, you know, as someone who's looked at a lot of used record stores, it's definitely the 70s record I've seen the most of. You see this one a lot. This sold a lot of copies. I've seen more used copies of this. You know, this, Nature of the Beast, and Power Play are probably the used ones you see a lot. it's it's an iconic album cover for them, kind of predates AC/DC, the cannon on the cover. And it is the last one with Jim Clench until Attitude. And still solid lineup. I'm going to give this one, excuse me. So I gave Electric Jewels 7.5. I'm going to give this one an 8. I think they're both really good albums. I think this one's just a hair better on my list, but that's what a band should do. They should improve album to album. And I like the fact that bands had the chance to do that. They had the chance to make their, what some might call missteps and experiment. They're getting what you're finding now, although I think that they deviate from it with the next two, but by the time you get to First Glance, a lot of the eccentricities of April Wine are kind of gone, and they're and it sounds to me like in the case of Ryan, he likes those eccentricities, but if you just want plain old guitar rock, they're giving it to you, but they're also giving you, like on this one, Baby Done Got Some Soul. That's just a strange song to me.
Yeah.
But they're ironing out what they want to do and what they want to sound like. And, basically once you get to First Glance, for the most part, that's your template for what April Wine's songs would at least be as far as instrumentation goes. But this is a good, solidification of pretty guitar driven album. So yeah, like I said, 7.5 out of 10 for Electric Jewels and 8 out of 10 for Stand Back. Those are my ratings.
Excellent. Cool. Mr. Klauser, what you got?
All right. So I'm going to just say that I would also give this a 7.5 for as well. This one, you got the catchy songs, the little quick, short songs, and like we were saying, nothing very long here. So any of these songs probably could have been a radio hit if they had wanted to. You got a great opening of now how is it actually pronounced? Ooh tonight, I guess. What?
It's
What a Night.
What a Night.
Ooh, what a night. Okay.
Ooh, what a night. Not like the Four Seasons. Oh, what a night. But
No.
ooh, what a night.
Ooh, what a night. I think it's a catchy chorus. I think it's a great feel good song. Don't Push Me Around, great bluesy rocker. Come Hear the Band. Again, this is where April Wine goes into the school of Slade as far as how to spell. Given the title of the song, you would think this would be you would think it would be a rocker of a song, and you get this kind of reggae ballady kind of feel throughout the song. Still not a bad song. Slowpoke, very kind of sleazy little rocker with that low voice and just the goofy lyrics. I like the catchiness of Victim of Your Love. I think that soul, funk, and disco feel of Baby Done Got Some Soul, I kind of like it. I think it's kind of quirky. It's kind of a fun song. I kind of like it. It just showed that they could do that kind of stuff, which, you get a little variety of sounds on this. So I thought that was good that they could actually pull that off. Wouldn't one want to, let's see. I can't read my chicken scratch anymore. Wouldn't Want to Lose Your Love. I thought that was just a nice ballad. Highway Hard Run. I love that. The guitar intro for that. Great interplay there. Not For You, Not For Rock and Roll. Another good 60s, 70s style blues rocker. And then we get our love songs back to back, which, love wouldn't want to lose your love wouldn't want your love any other way. I thought it was a good stomper. And then a nice heavy 50s, 60s feel of Tonight Is a Wonderful Time to Fall in Love. I thought this was a good album, a good, nice mix of everything. It was, again, one I kind of enjoyed listening from to start to finish. Kind of like you were saying about Electric Jewels. This one just has a good feel from start to finish for me. So yeah, I'll give that a 7.5 as well.
7.5. All righty, Mr. Gavalier.
Well, Stand Back. I don't know. I do really like this early era of April Wine. Honestly, I think this is the era I prefer listening to so far. Although I will say, now that we're kind of getting some sort of chronology listening to these albums now. I do want to go listen to some of the other ones again and see if maybe I have a bit more context with some of the later stuff. But I like these earlier roots. And I like the other stuff too. I just prefer this. I think it's more interesting, honestly. Less sounding like a lot of other bands. I think they were kind of weird at this point. I think that's cool. So I don't know. I think that this one I like a little bit more than I like Electric Jewels. I don't know. This could very well be my favorite one so far.
Out of the
I
early period?
Just in general, I told you I like the
okay.
early stuff
Yeah.
more. I think it's better. I think it's
Okay.
like, do you like 70s Scorpions or do you like post Love It for Sting? That's basically where I'm at right now. And I don't know. I think that there's a lot of really cool stuff on here, a lot of variety. Ooh, What a Night, really catchy song. I felt like this sounded like a proto Cheap Trick kind of song. That riff, that kind of like mischievous thing of like the sirens or whatever that is, the bells. My only gripe with this, I feel like it's a little bit off-putting after it's so energetic. All these energetic choruses, all these energetic verses, just real high energy. That they go right back to that intro again, like halfway through the song. It's kind of cool, but at the same time, I feel like it also kind of takes me off the buzz of like how energetic the song is, and especially going through the whole intro again. Basically, I'm just like, I don't know. Feels a little bit excessive to me, but I still think it's a really great song. Don't Push Me Around's pretty cool. I Come Hear the Band. I also didn't know what to expect with this. I thought it was going to be pretty lame, honestly, with the stupid spelling of come and stuff. It's like, what are we, 5? But it ended up being a pretty cool song, actually. Kind of like a ballad type of thing, and I really like that. I think it's really solid, catchy, poppy, cool. Slowpoke I think is interesting. It's got kind of a cool, it almost has like a Beatles-esque kind of riff to it, like a slower Beatles type of song, kind of sleazy. I like the lower vocals on it. I just thought it was kind of a weird, quirky type of song. Victim of Your Love is pretty catchy. I actually really like Baby Done Got Some Soul. I mean, is it the greatest example of funk music? No, it's April Wine doing funk, but I think it's cool still. I mean, I think they were trying to do something different and it worked out pretty well. I'd say it's almost like a poor man's Steely Dan version of funk. That's what I would call it, but it's still pretty cool though. I would say my favorite song on this album actually though is I Wouldn't Want to Lose Your Love. I know I didn't really like Lady Run, Lady High very much, but I do love some ballads. And I think that this is a really, really good ballad. This is the one for me would be the first really great April Wine ballad. Like the chorus is so catchy. The verses are catchy. There's wonderful melodies throughout it. Just, I don't know. It's just one of those songs that just kind of just takes you out of the world for a second. And it's just like this really beautiful pop that you could just enjoy. Highway Hard Run's pretty cool. I don't know. I mean, some of these songs didn't quite like, there's 11 songs on here. I wouldn't say everything on it is like extremely memorable, but I think everything is good and that's, or great. But I think that was a cool song. It rocked. And so Not For You, Not For Rock and Roll, but I think Wouldn't Want Your Love was a really good one. Kind of a good driving, almost like poppy hard rock kind of feel to this with the riff and stuff. Just catchy. And then I think Tonight Is a Wonderful Time to Fall in Love does kind of have a throwback poppy type of feel to it. And I really liked it as an ending for the album. I actually liked it more than The Band Has Just Begun. I kind of like this poppy side of April Wine that they're doing on some of these songs, and not like mainstream rock, but actually kind of going deeper and almost like a pop type of thing. And I think it sounds really cool for them. I think it fits their sound really well. And I think just overall, it is a very listenable album. I wouldn't say every single track on it's a classic, but like I said, everything's consistently really good or great. And I think the production sounds better on here. I think the performances sound more streamlined. The vocals sound great throughout the whole thing. One thing I didn't mention about the last album, then also say about this, the harmonies that this band has, beautiful, just really, really amazing stuff. I actually think they were probably a little more prominent on this album at times. There were some fantastic harmonies on here, but have some on here too. And I just think it's a really strong album. So if I'm going to give it a rating,
Ooh.
I'm going to say a 9. I don't know. It could be my favorite so far. I'd say this one, the debut, Electric Jewels, and First Glance have been my favorites so far.
Wow.
And yeah, I think, I don't know. There's something about those ones I really liked, and I loved On Record as well. I mean, I've liked every album we've listened to so far, but there's just something about this early era here that really stuck out to me. And I'm excited to see the other stuff that we check out later on, because a lot of it I am brand new to.
Yeah. It's been fun going through the whole catalog. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, that was excellent review. 9.99 out of 10. I like it. Excellent.
Or 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine. Cool. Excellent. Mr. Lubin.
Okay. So here's the copy that I have. This one I bought. This is really old. I'd say this is about 35 years old or something. I bought this in a record store in Montreal. I think I bought it at Discus, either that or it would have been an A&A, but I think I bought it at Discus. Obviously that doesn't exist anymore. It's actually Atlantic Records.
That's the one I've got.
Yeah, so that's the one I've got. I don't have the CD. So a couple of things about this album. This one is my favorite. I can just say that right now. So that cannon on the front, kind of an interesting story. They used to have that cannon on their tour for this album across Canada, and they would shoot out confetti to the audience. So that was kind of their pyrotechnics. And they were actually pretty famous for, even though they were only touring in Canada, they would have all kinds of pyrotechnics and in their concerts. So when they did finally start touring in the States, they were kind of ahead of the game. People thought they were a new band, even though they had been around for 6-7 years when they were touring around First Glance. Ryan mentioned there are 2 songs that still get very, very heavy play on Canadian classic rock stations. That is Tonight Is a Wonderful Time to Fall in Love and Ooh, What a Night. Wouldn't Want to Lose Your Love, a little bit, not quite. It hasn't quite stood the test of time, although I think it's a great song. So interesting thing about this album, at its time, it was the best-selling album ever by a Canadian group in Canada. Now, it did not get released in the USA by a mainstream label. You have to get it on, well, I don't know, Big Tree Records, some kind of private label, something like that. So it never had that complete release. And my personal theory is that had it gotten the release that Nature of the Beast got, it would have been a bigger album. I think this might have been kind of that album that kind of would have put them more in the stratosphere of maybe a Styx or something like that, where they would have been kind of more well known. I find that this band kind of in the United States, they're kind of they kind of have a niche. I notice like here in the Midwest, they have kind of a niche, in the Southwest, but if I say their names to people, yeah, they might know a song or two, but they never had like that huge, like high infidelity type of breakout. I mentioned I saw these guys in a live concert in 1992 in Oshawa, Ontario. They played almost this whole album, and I was thrilled because up to that point, I'll just give a little bit of an anecdote here. I had only seen them play the Harder Faster. I saw them play the Harder Faster tour, the Nature of the Beast tour, and the Power Play tour. They basically completely ignored everything pre-First Glance, except for the first song, Ooh, What a Night. stood the test of time. As Ryan mentioned, it's a song that it was one of the only songs that lived past Jim Clench, but it was the only song of these albums that seemed to survive once they got that Capitol Records deal. They gave us the same concert that they gave in the United States, and it was like based on those 2 or 3 Capitol Records albums. It's a total classic of a song. As I said, you'll hear this very often on Canadian classic radio stations, and it's been used in commercials too. So it's very frequent to hear that song used in commercials. Don't Push Me Around. That one in the early days when they were like touring with groups like Styx and Rush in the United States, that was another one that somehow survived, and they would play that because that's a song that it sounds good on this album, but it sounds even better live. I don't know if you guys have, or maybe you, Grant, have heard the El Mocambo album. It just sounds better live, and it sounds really good on that live at the El Mocambo album. I think it's a great rocker. It's when you hear that song live, it gets the whole, it gets the audience going. Come Hear the Band, another really nice ballad. As Miles Goodwin is Come Hear the Band and Slowpoke. He likes his discreet sexual humor, but it is a fantastic song, and he has actually said it might be his favorite in his catalog. Slowpoke, I do not like this song at all. If I'm listening in the car, I skip over it. And even in the days of listening to this on an LP, I remember going over to my record and literally picking up my needle and going to the next song, which ironically is my favorite song on the album. I think "Victim of Your Love" is my 5th favorite April Wine song. I have my 4 favorites. None of them are in these 2 albums. This one's number 5. I don't know what it is about it, but it's just got a great beat to it. Like hearing all the guitar works, the intro. It's a very simple tempo, but it just really works very well. Yeah, I'm a fan of Baby Done Got Some Soul. And sadly, that was his last song he did on any album till Attitude. I'm talking about Jim Clench. I think it's got a nice beat, nice flow. I think part of the fun of April Wine is you got to appreciate kind of fun, stupid rocking songs. These fun, silly rockers, and frankly, Nature of the Beast has a whole bunch of them. And I really like that album, but it's a bunch of silly rockers on that song. Things like "Wanna Rock" and "One More Time." Those kinds of songs. They're not brilliant, but they're just fun to listen to. I Wouldn't Want to Lose Your Love. Great ballad. I agree. There's 2 great ballads on this album. Highway Hard Run, fun song. Highway Hard Run and Not For You, Not For Rock and Roll. It's kind of those quick April Wine rockers. They're nice to listen to. They're not outstanding in any way, but they work well on the album. Wouldn't Want Your Love Any Other Way is also, I would say, it's in that range. There's nothing outstanding about it, but again, it's one of those fun rockers. And at the time, Tonight Is a Wonderful Time to Fall in Love was actually their highest charted song in Canada. It got to number 5. I find all people sort of in my age range in Canada, they all know this song. They all love this song. It still gets played quite a bit on radio in Canada, as I mentioned. And 2 songs, if you want to look for something fun to watch on YouTube, there's something called Behind the Vinyl. Miles Goodwin talks about I Wouldn't Want to Lose Your Love and Tonight Is a Wonderful Time to Fall in Love. He talks about how it's a 3-chord song. And so that's something, if the panel hasn't seen that, it's kind of fun to watch what he has to say about both those songs. I give this a 9.5 out of 10. I'd give it a 10 out of 10 if it wasn't for that stupid Slowpoke song. But this is my favorite April Wine album. It was I'd say this was the album that turned me into a super fan for sure. I think it had it all. It had great rock songs, great ballads. The songs stood the test of time. And as I mentioned, until they had their comeback in the 90s, I didn't get to see these songs perform live. I think these songs sound better live than the ones on Capitol Records. And the reason, quite simply, is that there was a lot of production thrown on those Capitol Records, and it makes it harder to recreate that sound live. They're much more simple songs, and therefore they sound better live. You can recreate the sound in a live venue. So I think it's a great album.
9.5. All right, cool.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave. Excellent. Nick, what's your take on Stand Back?
Here's my take. 11 tracks, under 40 minutes. I like it. I find that the first side is an A, 8+.
Whoa.
5 songs, different vibes. They all fit together. And if this is the only thing that the band ever did, they should be very proud. So I just starting off on that album, I just like the first 5 songs. We've talked about it. Ooh, What a Night, great rocker. Clench loses the screaming, the screeching, that falsetto-y
true.
thing. He sounds great on this. I understand why this would be a hit. I understand what would be popular in Canada. Too bad we didn't get it down here in the States, but I think it's a great song. Don't Push Me Around. Again, Foghat, Status Quo. I can listen to this stuff all day. I can see why it would be great live. I love to listen to this stuff. I love to play this stuff. That's totally my wheelhouse. Come Here, the band. I really like this song. I'm trying to figure out. It's almost like a 50s vibe to me with some of the background vocals. It reminds me of like the Everly Brothers could have been singing it. And Tim might appreciate this. If you listen to this song, 10 to 15 years later, Kix has a hit with Don't Close Your Eyes. It's much heavier, but it's the same kind of 50s kind of homage to it. The other thing is, to me, it reminded me of Mata Hoople, reminded me of the Dudes. I found it glammy in that sense. And there's almost like a certain melancholy to the way he does the vocal performance. So I really like that song a lot. It's just a very interesting song to me, and I thought it was very different, and not all bands could pull that song off, but I really like that a lot. I love Slowpoke. So where Mike was saying is Baby Gun Soul he loves, I loathe that song, but I love Slowpoke. And the thing I love about it is Miles Goodwin with that lower vocal, the slowly recorded, and the tempo. He is out Tony Joe Whiting it. I don't know if you know who Tony Joe White is with Poke Salad Annie with his sort of swamp rock, but it's like a swamp rock thing. It also, to me, I know Ryan was describing it as a Beatles thing. I just found this a straight up R&B. That guitar is straight. There's a groove to it. There's soul to it. I enjoy it. I enjoy the background vocals. I don't understand the lyrics. Someone has to explain that to me. But at the same time, I enjoy the music. So someday maybe I'll appreciate what the lyrics are all about. But they even add some wah-wah guitar in there. And I also think the song would be great for an exotic dancer. Fantastic. I've never been in one of those places, but something tells me it would make sense.
Right about him.
You understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
But Victim of Your Love, I agree. It's a great hard rocker. It's got a heavy riff, lots of ear candy in that song. There's in the soul, it's almost like a backwards thing they're doing in there too. I don't know what that is. But I really enjoy that a lot. Miles is way up there in the vocal registry, a la Geddy Lee, but I can see why people would like it. And I think it's a great song. So that first side I just love, the first 5. Baby Gun Soul, White Guys Doing This Disco is bad. It sounds like a song I would hear on the Love Boat. I can't get through it. It's the worst of the 70s. Sorry. If this was college radio, maybe Tim could appreciate this. If I was exploring an album, I try to go to the first track on the album, side A, first track, side B, closer. Ooh, What a Night's a great one. Closer's a fantastic one. But if I had hit this one on the first track, side B, I'd be like, what is this shit? So I didn't like where it was placed. And I don't know. I just find it so disjointed from the rest of what April Wine does. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I understand why. I know there's other bands that were fooling around with this type of stuff in the mid 70s. I get it. So I understand the experiment, but I don't need it. And it's sort of like, to me, it brought everything to a screeching halt. I think they start digging themselves back out of the hole again, though. I Wouldn't Want to Lose Your Love. Tim could correct me, but I almost found this like proto yacht rock. So
it wouldn't be out of place on a yacht rock station. Yeah.
And to me, you know what reminded me? It was very AM radio sounding, this song, which I like. That's not a bad thing. That's not a criticism. I like it. Highway Hard Run. I'll give you what it reminded me of. I found it majestic. You got twin leads again. Drums are featured. And I thought it sounded like a Nazareth song. I thought it sounded, there was I'm hearing Sweet in that song. I'm hearing Sensational Alex Harvey Band. It's a story song, so I like that too. I thought the end was, it ends very oddly, but that's okay. That was just interesting to me. Not For You, Not For Rock and Roll. I think Miles was listening to Elton John. His vocal delivery is Elton John. I think the lyrics are Elton John. I think they substitute the piano with slide guitar, and I like that song a lot. It just, it was cool. I'm not a huge Elton John fan, but I was like, it reminds me of Elton John. Wouldn't Want Your Love Any Other Way. what's with on this side of the album? You've got I wouldn't want to lose your love, and then I wouldn't want your love any other way. It's like the same song
Tongue
title.
twisters.
Correct. I do like it. Melody for Days. It's a good driving acoustic guitar on here. Again, some twin leads. I like it. It's a good song. And Tonight's a Wonderful Night. I just love that song. I find it glammy. I was waiting for somebody to say this. Doesn't anybody hear Alice Cooper's Be My Lover in this?
Totally.
Okay. We have a drink or two or maybe three.
Yeah.
It's the same phrasing. It's the same guitar. I don't know if it's the same key, but I was like,
same key, but it's the same. It's the same
same
chord
rhythm in the
progression.
guitar.
Yeah, but I love it. I mean, it's besides someone mentioned cowbell, but they even had glockenspiel or something in there.
In the chorus. Yeah,
I love that. I love that.
I've heard
Melody for
Springsteen
Days.
in that song.
What's that?
I've heard Springsteen in that song. It's one of the Born to Run songs. I've heard a little bit of. I've heard that riff a little bit in one of Springsteen's song in Born to Run, and now I'm forgetting which one it is.
When I first heard it the first 5 times, I just kept thinking it's Alice. It's Be My Lover. But
That's a
anyway,
good one.
Yeah,
but I just like
basically,
it.
yeah, basically, Be My Lover starts in D, and I
Okay.
believe that Tonight Is a Wonderful Time starts in B.
Mhm.
So find the 3 chords, and
Mhm.
you're off to the races.
and it's the same swagger that it has too.
Yeah.
So anyway, overall, I found this album at 9 very good to great tracks.
Mhm.
1 okay track, and then of course the soul song. I found it subpar. I love the influence of perhaps different bands. I mentioned them. I just love it. I think I changed my rating as we spoke. I'm going to push it up to an 8.5. I think it's great. I think it's light years ahead of Electric Jewels, and I think it's one of those albums that I'll go back to a
All right.
lot.
Just
8.5.
to follow up to just a couple of things that have been said. And Ryan's not here, but if he's watching this, when he talked about Ooh What a Night, when it drops out again
Mhm.
after the solo, I can understand if this is the first time you're listening to it, you might think, oh, why did they do that? I'm telling you, if you see them do it in concert, it's like when that happens and
Yeah.
they hit the fire bell again. It
Mhm.
isn't so much with Baby Done Got Some Soul. It isn't so much that I mind the musical, what they're trying to do musically. I just find that the title is clunky and it sings clunky, and the whole get on, get on, get on. Like I just, it's not if you're doing a song like that, it's got to be smooth, and I don't find this very smooth. I find it very like too many harsh syllables in it or something. Tonight Is a Wonderful Time. If it sounds 60s, it's because I believe it's one of the first songs Miles Goodwin ever wrote. I think he wrote it
Oh.
like in 1965. That
Wow.
song and another song 2 albums hence, which we'll be talking about. So there's a definite 50s sock hop doo-wop thing. I mean, he would always reference that. I mean, even like Dave mentioned, Wanna Rock on Nature of the Beast. I mean, that's just a 50s rock and roller. Da 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 da. So they've never been too shy about that. The other thing about Slowpoke musically with the R&B riff and the whole R&B thing in general, let's not forget their first major hit, You Could Have Been a Lady, was a Hot Chocolate cover. So I think that
Mhm.
they're just kind of in that wheelhouse, and it wouldn't surprise me, with Nick said about the Elton John thing, because I mean they covered Elton John, they did Bad Side of the Moon. So I mean, especially at this period, and Miles is a piano player, how could you not be influenced by Elton John? And Dave has an excellent point. If this album had come out again originally on Atlantic Records, one of the most powerful rock labels, going at the time, with Zeppelin and Bad Company and the Stones and Yes, I think that it might have had a comparable success that it did here in Canada. And I think that its lack of success in the States kind of confused them, and that confusion lasts through the next couple of albums. They get a little bit more eclectic again. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think Dave's absolutely right. This, by rights, this album should have been a big seller for them in the States. And I think that's got to be why Atlantic reissued it, which also would be why they started doing Ooh What a Night in concert, because I guess I kind of understand, why would you do a set full of songs where fans can't go to their record store and find these songs to buy if they're not available in the US? I guess I kind of understand that. I mean, it's not like, yeah, you could get imports, but it's not as easy as it is today. But the unfortunate thing about that is that they kept the same set for Canada, Whereas all of, the Canadian fans that had followed them all the way up through the 70s, once they got big, yeah, you're only going to hear the Capitol Records era stuff, which, the longtime fans will be like, hey, where's don't push me around? Where's Drop Your Guns? Where's Weeping Widow? So, it's kind of a two-edged sword. Like, do you want to, not everybody is like Springsteen and can rehearse 100 songs to go on tour with and just throw different things out at the set. So, it's kind of like when Kiss put their makeup back on for a good long period. It's like the non-makeup period, never heard of it. We
That
don't
was the
touch that.
Yeah, that was the exact experience I had. The first concert I saw was was the Harder Faster one at the Montreal Forum. So I had the Harder Faster album, the first glance. So I was thrilled to hear those songs, but I also had, and at that point I only had their greatest hits album.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, where's Like a Lover, Like a
Yeah.
Song? Where
Fast Train, yeah.
Yeah, where are all those? So that's why when in 1992 they did this comeback tour, and as I said, they put on a Springsteen set. I don't know if it was a thank you to their fans, but it was done at a bar in Oshawa, Ontario. And I'm telling you, I mean, obviously it was still quite a while ago, so I can't. But I just remember they played like a whole bunch of songs from Stand Back and Electric Jewels. I think part of it is because Clench was back, but. Yeah, but I'm just like I don't know if I said this before about Stand Back. I just think it has more of a mainstream sound, so they would have gotten the songs played on more types of stations back then, as opposed to Nature of the Beast, Just Between You and Me. That could be played, but other than that, those songs were for AOR stations. And they basically appeal to 15 and 16 and 17-year-old kids, and that's who bought the album. And it did pretty well, but it didn't. It didn't have the same impact as, let's say, High Infidelity did for REO Speedwagon.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, their success in the States is basically Harder, Faster, Nature of the Beast as far as certifications go. And it's a shame because it's because of that they didn't get on all of the package tours. And we've talked about this on previous episodes that you guys, down there you didn't get to see them as much. I mean, we were pretty spoiled. I've seen them 5 times. And if you were to talk to anybody older than me, you'd be like 5 times. I saw them 5 times in the first 5 shows of the tour. Like, it's nothing to have seen April Wine a ton of times in Canada and at a ton of different types of venues, I might add, and everything from clubs to theaters to, bigger classic rock festival type things. And their music is really adaptable to all of those formats. And you raise a good point about how the music, on Stand Back could get on those multiple formats. It's almost, it's not in the Queen level, but if you have those different types of songs, yeah, you can get on AM radio, you can get on adult contemporary radio, you can get on AOR radio. But yeah, once they hit First Glance, there might be one. I don't think there's anything on Harder, Faster that's AM radio friendly. That's a pretty slamming record all the way through. Now, Power Play, they kind of got back into that because they had Tell Me Why and What If We Fall in Love. But yeah, I think they kind of, I don't know if they forgot or if they just said, no, we're going to do heavy, hard guitar rock. And let's see where it takes us.
But you kind of see that Electric Jewels once they got, once you got Jerry and you got Gary in there, they're kind of forming that whole hard rock type of thing.
And
it's way different from what came
that,
before.
You get Jerry Mercer on drums, and I think their albums, I think there's a quaint production to a lot of the April Wine albums, but honestly, in my opinion, not until the 90s did Jerry's drums get recorded the way you hear them live, because that man is just a monster player. And he hits so hard, and he makes the poppiest of songs rock. Tonight Is a Wonderful Time. He just whacks that cowbell, and he's probably done this forever. And Dave can probably attest to this, but he'll do the solo where the strobe lights are going, and he lifts one hand up, and then the other hand comes down, so you can't even see where he's moving, and it gets faster and faster.
I remember seeing that on Harder, Faster.
Pounds the crap out of his drums. And hasn't been with the band for quite a few years, but he was born in 39. Like, by the time that Harder, Faster came out, he was 40 years old, and like he's just like a freak of nature as far as he's, because as far as I know, he still plays, in some capacity, like not with April Wine, but anyway, I it's just this is the lineup. This is starting to, this is the April Wine people would know right here.
Mhm. Yep, this is where it's really starting to come together. Just real quick, my take is Stand Back. I think it is. I like the production better than Electric Jewels. I don't necessarily like the songs any better. I think I actually like Electric Jewels as an album better. Because I'm not that much into slowpoke, and Baby Done got me some soul. Yeah, I don't really need it. I don't know. I like Electric Jewels a lot more, but not a whole lot more. Uh, but as far as Stand Back, I can see where it would be much more of a more accessible to FM rock radio because they are honing things down. Things are the vocals are much more upfront on Stand Back. The production's cleaner. And it seems to me it's more geared for radio as where Electric Jewels, I don't see that's really their goal. But with Electric Jewels, I love all that vocal interplay. I love all the harmonies on it. And I don't mind it being more stripped back on Stand Back, but I think I like the songs better in Electric Jewels, believe it or not. I don't know. I'm going to be contrarian on this. But I don't like it because I gave Electric Jewels an 8. I would probably, God, I hate to give it. Well, I'll give Stand Back a 7. It's not, I don't know. I don't like it quite as much as Electric Jewels. I don't know why. I mean, I don't think 7's bad either, but I really enjoyed Electric Jewels quite a bit. And I hadn't really listened to Electric Jewels prior to, I had already had this. I was familiar with this, but this I had not heard until I got this copy. So, no. But I do like the guitar work on Stand Back. I wish there was more vocal interplay like there was in Electric Jewels. I don't know. It's okay. I think the ballads on Stand Back are top notch. Victim for Your Love, nice and heavy. I like that. I Wouldn't Want to Lose Your Love, I think is the best track on the record, probably. And then I do like Tonight Is a Wonderful Time to Fall in Love. I like all Miles' ballads. It's just chock full of great stuff. But I still like Electric Jewels better. Yeah, I don't know why. So there you go. I don't think I have anything more to add. So either way, we still like these records.
Oh yeah.
No one's giving them a bad review, I mean, Nick was lowest at 6.5 for Electric Jewels, but it goes from 6.5 all the way up to 9. And overall, though, the way we've scored it, Stand Back is the more popular record. And so John gave it a 7.5, Ryan gave it a 9, Dave gave it a 9.5, Nick gave it an 8.5, I gave it a 7. It seems kind of low. I don't want to. Anyway, Tim gave it an 8. So it's a good record, just not my favorite. Next month we're gonna be looking at, well, whenever we schedule it, we're gonna look at the whole world's going crazy and Forever for Now. Be interesting to see what everyone's take on that is.
Very interesting. I can't
Yep.
wait to dig into those.
Yeah.
And those two albums are so connected too.
Mhm. But I'm really looking forward to when we get up to this. Dave,
mean,
you've
there's no
got this.
saying-
Do you have
there's-
that? Do you
I
have
don't,
this?
but I'll get it. I've been
Well, if you can find it.
I'll give it another try. I'll give it another whirl.
Does anybody know that this is like on Spotify or anything? I've never
Not.
looked.
It's not.
I just happened to get it on. Where did I get it?
I think it's on Hoopla in Canada, but I don't think it's on Hoopla.
Oh, I know
That's a-
where I
that's a-
got
that's a
this.
lot
I
of-
got this off of Amazon.
Yeah.
Normally, I don't have any luck on Amazon, but some reseller had it and it was $20. And I went, really?
Wow.
It came from Canada, though.
Here
It was
here's-
it was on a label called Civilian Records, which it's got
Yeah.
that, and then they did a double live album in 2003. And as far as I know, that label went kaput after that. So
Yeah,
Here's a
2001.
weird. Here, I was going to tell you. Here's a weird thing. You go to try to get Power Play on iTunes. You can't. In the United States. Now, if you're in iTunes Canada, you can get like songs like If You CK and some of those others.
But not
or
the whole
whatever.
record.
No, you
That's
can't get it in iTunes United States, and I for the life of me I can't figure out why, because it was released. It did decently. Enough is enough. Got a lot of play on MTV apparently back.
Oh,
in
I
the
love
day.
that record.
I didn't live
Yeah.
here. Oh, it's a great record.
And Power Play isn't on Spotify, and looking at
Yeah.
some of those streaming services, their catalog is really spotty. It's hard to figure out why and what the reasons are. But so I think for me, I have to, some of those later ones I have to dig on YouTube or somewhere, or try to find it and buy it.
Mhm.
their catalog needs some TLC for sure. Like as far as, one label to shepherd all of it,
Yep.
and give it all and present it all properly.
He had
It
a
shouldn't
solo
matter
album.
how the album's sold by now. If you just got to put them out digitally, it's not like it's going to cost a label a lot.
Right.
I was gonna say Miles Goodwin had a solo album in the late 1980s. I don't even like. Did you guys even know that?
It came out on Atlantic in the States,
Yeah.
Okay.
with a different cover. Yeah, with a different cover, but it didn't do very well. So his album came out, and so did Brian Greenway's Serious Business album. For some reason, again, maybe it's that Stand Back connection. They ended up on Atlantic. You'd think they would have come out on Capitol, but I'm fascinated by those record company decisions. And another thing that I find kind of fascinating is the fact that you had the interplay with Miles and Jim Clench on Electric Jewels, and then one album later, you don't have it anymore. And when you get into a catalog all at once, you don't always think about why that might be. You just think, okay, well, here's the songs on here and here's the songs on that one. But obviously they weren't working together. It was like, we got the album, let's do 2 of your songs, and that's it. And oddly enough, they both start the sides off.
It's in his book.
Oh, wow.
If you read Just Between You and Me,
I have
okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, there's no point to go into the whole thing, but basically there was Jim Clench left the group for replaced by Steve Lang, so we can fill in the blanks, I guess.
All right, cool, gentlemen. What a night. Great discussion.
Okay.
Does anybody have anything to plug? I do know that Tim Derling's got an April Wine 8-track episode coming up.
I do. It's coming up this weekend, depending on when this airs. And, it's not, for what it's worth, I think I've got all of their albums that they put out on that format, but I could be wrong. There could be more, but
You might have them. If not, maybe Ernesto could fill in the blanks.
oh man, yeah, if anybody can, it would be Ernesto. I don't know if we talked about that or not, but I know I've got all the ones that were released to retail. Let's put it that way.
Cool. Is there anything else coming up you want to plug while we're
Yes, fans, take note. I've got a very, very cool episode coming up and a bunch of review episodes on the way.
cool? Excellent. Nick, anything happening with you?
No, I missed your Friday night chat. You guys were talking about collecting. I'm up to my eye teeth and stuff. I'll have to talk to you about it off air, but lots of stuff I'm finding and gathering. Here's a little something. I'll wet your whistle. From my archives of my recent deceased bandmate.
Oh.
He met that fella outside a TV station in Philadelphia.
Wow.
In the mid 70s. And there's
Holy
more where that
crap.
came from, but lots of really one of a kind stuff that
I guess.
getting unearthed. So it's kind of cool.
Crap.
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't realize he was that big of a Beatles fan. I think you, Grant, as a Beatles guy, have to tell you what's going on there.
Yeah. Be interested to hear.
Yep.
Dave, is there anything going on with you?
Nope, not really.
He's on here. I want to thank everybody for showing up. Nick, Ryan, Dave, Tim, and John Clauser. And thanks everybody for coming in. Like, subscribe, click the bell, you know, all that crap. Until next time, we'll see you. So good night.